Hi, I'm Wendy Singer, Executive Director for a local Chicago nonprofit, No Shame on You.
Can you tell me about the nonprofit?
Sure, No Shame on You is dedicated to eliminating the stigma surrounding mental health challenges so people who need the help will seek it and family and friends will know how to support loved ones. And we achieve our mission through all kinds of educational programming, customized mental health workshops, and the creation of a lot of really important resources, public programming, blogs, podcasts, and my favorite part, a teen leadership board that brings teens from all across the Chicagoland area to learn about mental health topics, learn about innovations in mental health care, and they work towards together to make an awesome teen-led program at the end of the year. And our organization was founded 10 years ago, believe it or not. We're hitting our 10-year anniversary by an incredibly amazing human being named Miriam Ament. And Miriam, during her 20s and 30s, experienced a lot of hospitalizations for depression and anxiety. And she felt, other than her really closest best friends, that the other people in her life, her other friends and family, did not know really how to support her at the time. And she was a visionary and decided years later in 2014, she took the leap and stepped back from a career as a senior paralegal at a large firm in downtown Chicago to start No Shame on You. And she's a fantastic woman. And here we are 10 years later.
What inspired you to get involved?
Great story. I mean, great question, not a story, not a great story. But a great question. 10 years ago, when she started, we were in a fellowship together, and she was launching No Shame on You, and I was launching a different program within the organization I worked, a summer camp program. I'm all about youth development, and I was in that field. And I fell in love with Miriam. She just I always said she's a holy person, and I supported her through the years, personally attending events and making donations, and we would partner on different programs throughout my career at two different organizations over about a 7-year period. And then 3 years ago, unfortunately, during COVID, one of my kids at the time, who was 11, had a full blown mental health crisis. And it was a terrible time in our lives. And it ratcheted up. My own personal anxiety disorder came back to the forefront because that's what happens during COVID. I describe it as we all have embers in a fireplace that glow certain hot spots. And then when you pour gasoline on it, which was COVID at the time, it can explode. So my daughter was in crisis, and I decided to have coffee with Miriam. I wanted to tell her after she started doing better, thank goodness. I met Miriam for coffee, and I said, I want to be a volunteer. I want to, if another parent calls you and says that they're going through this and they want to speak to another relatively level headed human being, mom, then I'm your woman. And I wanted to volunteer. And she said, I'm so sorry for what you've been through. I know your work ethic. I know you, Wendy, because we were in the fellowship together, and we're at a pivotal point where we're expanding. And a few weeks later, I started as her director of programming back in 2021. So out of a really tough situation, I landed back at No Shame on You, and it's a true honor to work for such an incredible organization, and something that I'm so deeply passionate about, both professionally and of course personally.
What is it like talking to family members and friends to help your own healing process?
Um, well, for me, it has really come full circle. Um, Working for No Shame on You and creating resources that weren't available when my family members were struggling. So that piece has been tremendously healing. For example, I remember that when I took my daughter to the emergency room and we got stuck there for a couple of days, it was COVID, no one was allowed to come in and out, my friends, my husband. So I was stuck in there for several days until they found her placement. And I asked the crisis workers, do you have anything I can read? I'm at a total loss. I know about individual therapy. We're already doing it, but what's going to happen now? What's going to happen when she goes to the hospital? What's going to happen when, how long is she going to be there for? What about when she gets discharged? All those things. And unfortunately, at the time, they didn't have any reading materials for me. So my twin sister was texting me articles. My best friends were sending me things. It's so scared and it's such a loss. So fast forward to when I started with No Shame on You, we created a resource guide for parents and caregivers when their kids are in crisis. And it was authored by our lead psychologist, Dr. Anat Geva, who did a fantastic job, along with our amazing advisory board of clinicians and youth workers and leaders. And it launched a year ago, and it's gone viral, which is amazing. We've had over 3,000 downloads.
Oh,
And the
wow.
idea, yes, so I'm excited about that. I just want it in the hands of as many human beings as
Yeah.
possible who were like me, and it costs nothing. But the full circle to be able to help others who felt like me during that dark time is just pure. I don't know if the word is joy, but pride in the work that we're doing. Um, so I'm so happy about that. So to be able to help friends and family, support loved ones is what we do, and it feels good to be able to take personal life experiences and everything I've learned at No Shame on You to continue the good work.
Well, I live with bipolar disorder too, and I'm getting treatment and all that. But I always think about my wife and kids to make sure not only they know what's going on, but they're being supported as well. How important is it for families to feel a support system while they're taking care of someone going through a crisis or a mental illness?
It's so huge, and sometimes people don't know what to do, and um, it doesn't have to be something big. There are professionals out there who can support you. I encourage everyone who has a loved one who's struggling to get your own support,
Yeah.
whether it's talking to your own therapist or attending a support group, whatever works for you. Everyone has something different. Having your own time to decompress, all of those things. I think it is so important. Um, but for those who have a loved one, that you're not a clinician, you're not going to be able to change it yourself, but you have to take care of yourself. And there are some simple things you can do to support a loved one. We work with teens all the time, for example, who say, "What do we do? We think someone is is struggling." You can't fix it. Talk to an adult who can help you, but you can be supportive and just reach out with a little emoji or sit next to someone at lunch. So there are a lot of small things that we work with people on, practical tools, practical ideas of support. One of my favorite supportive pieces, if you know someone who's struggling, is simply saying, "Can I help you with a task? Can I help you make a checklist for what you need to do later today, or can I help pick up a load of laundry?" So just some simple things, but also being aware that you can't carry it all and you need your own support as well.
What is it like working with teens?
Teens? Oh, I love it. I'm a retired summer camp director. Um,
Okay.
I did it for 18 years at a few different camps within one system, and I just love it. They're the future, and as far as mental health goes, what is so cool about teens is they talk about it so much
Yeah.
more than my generation, our generation, and our parents' generation. So just last week, or it wasn't it was a few weeks ago, I went to pick up a Subway sandwich for my seventh grader. And she wasn't with me, but I ran to go get it for her. And I'm in the Subway, and behind me are a bunch of teens from her middle school. And they all were like, I go to this center, I go to this therapist, I go to that therapist. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would not, never been heard of when I was a kid. It was very hush hush. I remember I saw a therapist. I didn't want anybody to know,
Yeah.
and it was very secretive. It's totally different with young people today. So one of the things that we love doing is intergenerational programming, where we work with teens. We did a program last year with teens and seniors, and it was amazing because the teens were excited to talk to the seniors. The seniors were so inspired by the teens who were so open and willing to talk about issues. And so, it was really an interesting, wonderful experience. But teens are my favorite.
And I think I know the answer, but have you seen teens be more open than they used to be?
Yes, so definitely just that description that I said, they're
Yeah,
open, they're more open. High schools now have mental health clubs, which they never had before.
right.
It really has raised up over the last several years, probably the last 5 years. I was talking to one high school principal where he described that when he started as a principal, there was one social worker that they hired finally, and that social worker was in the back corner of the dark abyss of the high school. So people would go, kids would go, but they wouldn't want anyone to see them, and
Yeah.
it was just very private. And now the high school has the social work team in the center of the building with in the middle of the hub, and there's no shame on coming in. And actually this is the high school of where our founder went, and the principal of the high school there is the same principal, and he told me that story, and I thought it was just fantastic.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
For me personally, I go to therapy every other week. It's awesome. It's a great sounding board. I enjoy it. I look forward to it. For my own self, I meditate, not as much as I should, but I did learn how to meditate during that crisis time, and I never thought I'd be able to slow my brain down. Period. I was kind of against it. I was like, "There's no way." And my mother, my fantastic mom, gifted me with a meditation class during that time because she's like, "I'll do anything to help you." And so I took the class, and it actually really helped. It took time. It's a practice, not a piece, but I find I love that. I also try to go outdoors and ride my bike and be outside. I try to turn off my computer at a certain point because I'm a little better about balancing. Um, and I also take medication, which has been life changing to me. And I remember being a young person and being like, is it weird that I take medication? I don't want anyone to know. But I've shifted my mental model, and I did years ago when I started when I was 24 by saying, listen, if I had asthma, I would take an inhaler. If I'm diabetic, I would take insulin. I have generalized anxiety disorder, so I take medicine and it helps me.
Yeah, I'm in therapy and then I take medication. And I was diagnosed only when I was 37, so 5 years ago. And it has really changed my life, feel like the true me. And I know what's going on in my mind more so than when I was a kid.
That's amazing. It's an amazing thing. I remember when I first started taking it, one medication didn't work, and I just was like ready to give up, and then we tried something else, and it literally was like the gray cloud lifted. And I felt like myself, and joy came back, and all of those things. It doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
Um, but for me it works. Also exercising vigorously. Like I have to get a good sweat on. And if I get a good
Yeah.
sweat on, my mood changes, and I just feel better.
Where do you want to see your mental health mission with the nonprofit in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
I want us to be able to continue to do the good work that we're doing, to do more of everything that we're doing now. So I would love to see us increase our team of educators and be able to go to more schools, more nonprofit organizations, more for-profit organizations to customize mental health trainings.
Yeah.
We have a small staff right now, um, building that would be great. And I also have I'd like to see us doing more to support people in crisis. One idea, just an idea, but I feel like if I say it out loud, maybe it will happen. Is possibly working with hospitals and ERs when parents and families and spouses and children, anybody who has a loved one who's in the hospital, that perhaps we could be a nonprofit that goes in to help support those families by bringing them resources, some food if they got stuck in the ER for 3 days like I did, our resource guide that we created, and whatever we can to help them so people know. They're not alone and that they have support. So that's a on the horizon idea. In the meantime, I want us to continue grow and serving as many people as we can.
What would you say to anyone going through a tough time?
I would say you are definitely not alone. I would share my favorite statistic that I've learned since working at No Shame on You, that 50% of people in the United States and even worldwide, a Harvard study showed, um, will experience a mental health disorder at some point in their lifetime. And I remember hearing that and being so like, wow, that means everybody, either themselves or a friend or a family member or a neighbor or a schoolmate or a coworker is going to struggle. So this is just part of being a human being, and you're not alone. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, and we're in it together.
Well, I looked at your LinkedIn profile and I saw that you've done so much work with nonprofits. So, what motivates you?
Mm. Whatever I do in my life, I have to be really passionate about. I don't think I could enjoy my day to day if I was, um, let's say, my favorite show, The Office, selling paper.
Yeah.
A Dunder Mifflin. I don't, even though I love that show, I don't think I would feel fulfilled if I was selling paper. So whatever I do, it has to be some connection to supporting people, developing young people, to be the best that they can be. I think we all make mistakes, we all grow and learn. And so I think that's a theme throughout my career is I think I love being a developer of young people or older people, any people to be the best that they can, to be the best that they can. And I think another link of what I've done throughout my career is storytelling. I was a camp director for 18 years. Then I worked at JCC Chicago, and then I worked at Illinois Holocaust Museum, and then this is my third piece in my career. And throughout my career, there has been a theme of storytelling. So, and what I mean is hearing people's stories, hearing people's struggles, helping support people to be resilient. Whether it's a camp director who's supporting all my staff over the years and campers to grow up. I remember every single story. I won't remember their names. Necessarily, but if I see a kid, I'll be like, remember the time, remember the time, remember the time, and they laugh. And I have a great memory for stories. And then I went on to Illinois Holocaust Museum where my favorite part was meeting the Holocaust survivors and learning their stories of resilience and hope and what they went through to be there for their descendants today. And then now at No Shame on You, I think that I really enjoy the piece of meeting people, hearing their stories, sharing their stories of mental health struggles and triumphs and more. And so I think there's a theme of that. And that I love, I want to continue hearing stories and lifting people up.
So, how can people reach out and learn more?
You can go to www.noshameonyou. That's the letter U, not YOU, .org. That's something to know. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. That's where we're most active right now. And if anyone has a specific question, I'll give my email too. It's Wendy, WENDY, at no shame on you, the letter U, .org. And anyone who's interested in learning more or has questions about our resources or wants a customized mental health workshop or just wants to say hello, like Michael reached out a while ago, please do so.